In first three parts, we have explored different ways to upload data to Power Query, and then we covered various options to transform data. In this video, we will focus on one more important transformation, that is how to unpivot the data. In due course, we will also see how to fill down and sort the data in Power Query. If you are interested in learning Power Query, then I recommend you to watch all the videos of this series till the end. So stay tuned and let's get started. Hi guys, welcome back to Tech Reflections. I am Vikram and today we are here for the fourth video on Power Query, and in this we will cover unpivot data. If you have not watched the earlier parts, then do watch them. Link is there in the I button at the top right of your screen and in the description of this video. Now let's move to Excel and see how we can automate our routine task with the help of Power Query. Here we will see how to unpivot with two different examples. One is the simple unpivot. We will understand how do we unpivot the data, why do we unpivot, and how the data looks like before and after the unpivot. And then there will be another example which will be a little complicated. So we will see how to handle those complex issues with Power Query. Okay, so if you see on your screen, this is the first simple example we have for Unpivot. At the top, you see that we have different stores and the product they are selling. So we have the sales number. And what we want is a table below that we want is it in a tabular form where we have store details, products, and sales. So let's see how we can do this in Power Query. The first step we will do is we need to convert this data into a table. As you all know, how do we convert the data into our table? We just select any cell within the data range and we press Control T. So once you press Control T, you will get this kind of dialog box. It is selected all that range of the data and it's asking whether your table has the headers. So in our case, we have the headers. So we'll keep that as checked and we'll click OK. So now this particular data is converted into a table. So it's good practice that you change the name of this table. Currently by default, it's showing as table 1. So we'll change it to sales. We can't have spaces in between. So we use underscore, it's sales underscore data. So this is our table. If you want to change the appearance of this table, you can select anywhere in the table and you have different options of table styles. You can change that. Okay, so now our data is already converted into a table. So as a next step, we'll go into data. Right now I have Excel 2016. So your Power Query will be under data tab, and under data tab, you have this get and transform part, which shows all the options for Power Query. But if you are having a different version of Excel, then it may be at a different position, but all the more options remains the same. So you can use all these options there also. So what we are trying to do here today is we will go from table. So we want this Power Query to use our table, which we have created. So we'll click on from table. Okay, so this is the Power Query editor opening up, and it will pick up the data which we have in our table. Now you can see the data is right here. And on the right side, we have a panel for applied steps. So whatever changes you will be doing, those changes will be shown here. This we have already discussed in our previous videos. So I'll not spend time on that. I'll come back to our data. So this data is the same data that you see in this table. So this is there in this Power Query. Now, how do we unpivot this data? So there's a simple option, click on transform, and there is an unpivot option. Now, when you click on this down arrow just next to unpivot, there are different options. We have unpivot column, unpivot other column, and unpivot only selected column. How are these options different? We need to see. The first thing is, depending upon what is selected in our data, we have to use different options. So right now, our stores column is selected. And if I use unpivot column here, So it will unpivot this column only. Okay, and and otherwise, if I click on unpivot other column, so anything that is not selected would be unpivoted, and unpivot only selected will only select unpivot only the selected column, nothing else. So let's see. In our case, we want to unpivot the data which is there in the columns product 1 till product 5. So we'll use the option unpivot other column. So moment we do that, we will have the data in the unpivoted form, and if you compare it with what we wanted, it's the same data. We have stores and products and sales, but here the column values are a little different, so that's not a problem. We can go ahead and change that. So store is okay. We can make a change here. We can make market products and the last column as sales. You can just double click on the column header and it becomes editable. So this is the data in the form that which we want. So we can directly just load this data into our Excel sheet. But let's check other things like other options. What are those for and how they can be used? So as of now, I'll just remove those steps. For removing, you just need to press the red cross in front of those steps, and I'll also remove unpivoted. Okay, so we are back into the same data which we had earlier. And now let's say this product 2 column is selected, and if I click on unpivot columns, so what will happen? Only the product 2 column gets unpivoted. The rest of the columns remains the same, but that is not what we wanted. So we need to be very careful while unpivoting, because on the basis of what is selected in the data, Power Query will unpivot that, and we need to be careful with that. Okay, so let me delete it again. And if I click on only selected, so it will unpivot only this source column. Okay, fine. So in our case, stores is selected. So to move ahead, we need to use unpivot other columns, which we did earlier, right? And now again, I'll change the name of the column. Okay, so this is how we want the data. It looks like the same as we wanted in our output. So we can just now go to home, close and load, click on close and load, and this data will get added into another tab for the same Excel workbook. So you can see this data here. This is the same data, same kind of data that we were looking for. Now, if you want to see if there is some additional data, how that would be handled. So in our case, we have, let's say, one additional store with its sales data, which we earlier missed. So we can just select this, copy paste this data into our original data, and that's all we need to do. Just go back to the outcome that we got from Power Query, select inside it, go to query and refresh it. We click on refresh, you'll get that additional data. Where is that data? It will be here under the data that we created earlier. There's new store F0085 get added, and that is what the additional data that we added to our input data. So that's how the unpivot works. And this is the simple unpivot where the data was is in a normal pivoted form, and we just use the option unpivot, and the data is in a tabular form that we want. If you're finding this video useful and interesting, then do like this video and share it with your friends, as now we are going to see another interesting, a bit little advanced example. Also subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you get notified when the next video will be published. Now let's move to advanced unpivot example. So just close it from here and we'll go to another tab. So here we have same kind of data, but if you see there is additional year row also there. So we have data for 2016 and 2017. So this is not a normal pivoted form. So how do we handle this? And what we want is outcome is that we want a column for store, product, year, and then finally sales. So let's see this kind of scenario. How can we handle that in Power Query? The first step is saying that we need to convert this into a table. So we'll just select somewhere inside the data and click on Control T. Now in this, we have multiple headers. So we can't say that my table has header, because in that case, 2016 and 2017 becomes the header for us. So we'll just uncheck and click on OK. What will happen is, in this case, Microsoft Excel will add another column and considering this to be the header. But right now we are not interested in having this extra header. So what we can say, when we selected this table, under table design, you'll get an option of unchecking header row. So if I uncheck, so header row will not be shown. Okay. So now we have this data into a tabular form. So now we go to data, and again under data, from table option, which we used in the previous example also. We'll click on this. So now in this case, as we have little extra data here for here, so the steps would be little different from what we did last time for unpivoting the data. So we can't directly unpivot this data. So previous to prior to doing that unpivot, we also need to take few more steps, and then only we would be able to unpivot the data. So let's see what are those steps. So first of all, this is the data that is imported from Excel in Power Query, and now we need to do is, because again here we have multiple headers, so we do the Power Query has created a default header for itself. So what we will do is, first of all, we will transpose this data so that we have single header, and which can be used as the header for our data. So we'll select this. We'll just select and press shift and select all the columns. Also, okay, so all the data is selected, and we now go to transform and click on transpose. So I hope you all know what is transpose. Transpose will convert the data, all the columns become the row, and row data becomes the column. So now in the first column we have year details, but there are few blank columns also, because these were the columns which were earlier not having any data and in the initial data set. So what we need to do here is, we can't have this kind of blank data here. So to avoid this, we need to use fill down option. How this fill down works. So now we have already selected this column. So there is an option called fill, if you see, and this is under transform tab. You click on that. There are options down and up. You can click on down, and all the blank rows gets populated with the data. See, now you can see all the blank rows are not there, and in fact blank cells are removed, and now we have a data there. So it is populated with the year 2016 and 2017. Okay, so that's the first step we need to do. Now in the second step, with the transpose, now we have this data ready, this header. Now we have just one header. So what we can do is, as a next step, we'll just promote this as a header. So there is an option under transform, use first row as header, so that we can use. Okay, so now we have first row as header. And now this is the right time for us to unpivot this data. Okay, so now we can easily unpivot this data. Again, as we have discussed in the previous examples, what is selected is important while doing an unpivot. So right now in our data, what we are trying to unpivot is data starting from column 3. So this column, starting this column, rest all columns we want to unpivot. So select those columns which you don't want to unpivot. So this is these two columns we want to keep as it is, and rest we want to unpivot. So if you select this and go to unpivot and use the unpivot other columns, so this way your data gets unpivoted. And let's say if we compare it with what we want in our output. Yeah. So we want first we want the store, then product, then year, and then sales. But if you see in the headers, these headers have a different value, which is not correct, which is not matching with the data. So the first column is, in first column we have years here, but which is column 1. So we need to change this. You can just double click on the header and change it and press enter. So this will change to year. Then under the store header, we are showing as products. So this we now need to change and change it to products. Press enter. Then third column where the stores detail is there, it shows as attributes because we have multiple times changed the data. So it has taken the headers on its own by default headers. So we now need to change it as per our requirement. So this is store, and the final one is the sales. Okay, so but still it doesn't seems to be in the right shape which we want. So what we are looking for is we want store as the first column. So that's not a problem. We just select this column and drag it to the left. So the store becomes the first column for us. Second, we need product. So you can select this product and move it. So products becomes the second column. Year is third and sales is fourth. That's fine. Now, inside that also we need the data to be sorted in a specific fashion where we want all the stores like store in ascending order and all the data for one store at one place, and then we move to another store. So what we are doing here is we want to sort it in the ascending form for the stores. So here you can see the store S0011 becomes the first 6 rows. We have the same store and the details about the store. So now the second column, we want first the product 1 and then yearly sale for 2016 and then product 1 yearly sale for 2017. So we want to sort data on this also. Again, we click on this down arrow just next to the column name, and there is an option called sort ascending. This gets sorted, which looks okay. And now we have sorted with the years also. So third option is we want to sort with years, and we go there and sending. So now the data looks like exactly how we want it. Now as the final step, we can just load this data into Excel. So for that, we go back to the home and close and load. So another sheet gets created and the data gets loaded here. So again, just to check if it is there, if we make any changes to the data, will that data gets updated? So for that, we'll go back to our initial data and we have some additional product, product 5, which is added in 2017. And let's see, will that gets automatically updated in our sheet or not? So we have added product 5 in 2017, and we'll go back to our query result. And here we select somewhere and go to query option and click on refresh. So let's see if we have the product 5 available. So yeah, you can see for the store S0011, we have product 5 for 2017, and we have the data here, and that's added for all the stores. So that's how this unpivot works. And this one was a little complicated data we have, but we are able to manage this data. So even if we get data in this form, we can use Power Query to convert this into a proper tabular form. So drop a comment and let me know if you have learned something new today, and if you want me to cover any specific transformation in this video series on Power Query. This is all we have for today's video. You can check out more videos on Excel, Google Sheet, and PowerPoint on this channel. Link to those videos and playlists will be there in the description of this video. Enjoy them, and I'll see you all in the next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye.